Bring back rock. Hey everybody, it's Dean. Welcome to Bring Back Rock. Today we're talking about your underrated albums from 1989. If you're familiar with the channel, you might have seen these already. If not, please go check them out. I had actually 2 videos of my underrated albums 1989. There were so many albums coming out, you couldn't keep up with it. There was kind of a signing frenzy in 87, 88. Now these albums are coming out and not getting the promotion they deserved, and just the sheer number of them. So in part 1, I gave you just a brief description of what's happening in music, and then 15 to 20 underrated albums. And then in part 2, I gave you another 20 to 25 underrated albums. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 40 underrated albums. And now these are the ones that you guys said I missed from the underrated albums in 89. So let's get to it. There's about 20 plus here. So viewer underrated albums from 1989. The first one is Electric Boys' Funko Metal Carpet Ride. And this one I have to just, it's kind of funky, literally. So first, the band was kind of funky. So there's kind of a funk metal thing happening with like Extreme and Bang Tango and King of the Hill, and this band here, who had a big hit with All Lips and Hips, which went to number 76 on the Hot 100 charts. This album went to number 16 on the rock charts, kind of. There was actually 2 versions of this released. The first one was released in 1989. They're a Swedish band, and it was released in Sweden. The international album came out in 1990, so I'll have to mention this again in 1990. The international album, they're very different. The Swedish album had 10 songs. The international album had 11 songs. 6 songs appeared on both of them, and there was 5 new songs on the international version from 1989, if you can keep it all straight. Those 5 new songs were produced by Bob Rock, so that's kind of cool. So I'll probably mention this 1990, but yes, Funko Metal Carpet Ride initially came out in 1989. All right, next up we have a band called Victory. Culture Killed the Native. German heavy metal band. I think they might still be recording. They've released a ton of albums. This one was their 4th album and was successful in Germany and Europe, but it did not really make much of a dent here in the US as it failed to chart. But some of you guys loved it, and it was underrated in 1989. Next up we have really good album, Tangier 4 Winds. This is one I was familiar with the band, but I didn't have the album until more recently. It kicks off with a great song called Ripcord. Every time I listen to Spotify, when an album ends, I would usually play this for like months. I would play this song after the next album ended. So Ripcord's a great song. They were a Philly band, which Philly had kind of a crazy scene with Cinderella and Britney Fox and Heaven's Edge. And outside of LA, they had a really hopping scene. So their first major label release went to number 91 on the album charts, and On the Line was the first single, went to number 67. Just a cool bluesy hard rock record. Tangier 4 Winds came out in 1989. Next up we have a band called Signal. Signal was fronted by Mark Free, who is now of course Marcy Free. It was produced by Kevin Elson, who worked with Journey in Europe. Now this was Mark Free's band after King Cobra. Just a good melodic hard rock album. Did better again in Europe than in the States here, failing to chart in the States. But it is a really good record. So check out Signal. Underrated, 1989. Next up, TNT, Intuition. It was their 4th record. It was a little more commercial, but it was also the most commercially successful record. The album went to 115 on the album charts. And if you missed it back in the day, Rock Candy Records reissued it in 2022, so you can check it out there. Next up we have Giant, Last of the Runaways. This is a band I think I saw opening for Heart back in the day. We found some like Heart tickets for like $10 for lawn seats. A couple hours away, we just decided let's go. We all a couple of us hopped in the car and headed down. Giant opened, and Heart was really good. I'm really glad I saw them now. Back in the day, they were a little bit more pop than I usually listen to, but still a good show. So anyway, Giant, Last of the Runaways, an album I would call commercial hard rock. They scored a top 20 hit with I'll See You in My Dreams. The album failed to go gold. It did go to 133 on the album chart, so some success with that one song and a decent album. Giant, Last of the Runaways, underrated. Next up, we have a heavy metal band from Japan, probably Japan's biggest metal import, at least up until that point. Loudness. Loudness released Soldier of Fortune in 1989. It was their first one with new singer Michael Viscera, an American singer. He's gone on to have a great career. I knew him before this, probably you guys might have too, from Obsession, who released a couple of really good albums. Unfortunately, getting an American singer was not enough to help Loudness break through in the US any bigger than they were already, as the album failed to chart. So Loudness, Soldier of Fortune, underrated in 1989. Next up, a band that I was not familiar with this album. I had to go and check it out. Uriah Heep, which is Raging Silence was the name of the album. It was the first one with new singer Bernie Shaw, and I believe Bernie Shaw is still the front man for them today. It was their 17th album. I checked it out, and it's really, really good. It's contemporary sounding, at least contemporary sounding for the 80s, kind of AOR, hard rock. If you're not familiar with Uriah Heep, Raging Silence, I recommend at least giving it a listen because it was kind of surprising to me. It was really good. All right, next up, one that a lot of you guys love, and if you want to know more about them, go check out my video on them. Lillian Axe. They released Love and War. It's their second album for MCA. It was their last album for MCA before moving to IRS. They moved to IRS and had more success than they did with the MCA albums, but the MCA albums are excellent, very, very good. I really like both of them. But Lillian Axe came out, Love and War, in 1987, and is definitely an underrated album. Next up, another one that a lot of you guys like, Dirty Looks, Turn of the Screw. This was the follow-up to Cool to the Wire, which was an excellent album. This one did not do as well. It didn't chart. Cool to the Wire did. Very AC/DC sounding, really a killer hard rock. There's quite a few AC/DC sounding bands at the time. This is one of the better ones. For this album, they originally had Beau Hill producing. You may remember Beau Hill was the producer for almost all of the Rat albums, but they didn't like the sound they were getting from him, so they ended up parting ways with Beau Hill and getting John Jansen to produce it. Really good record. Also, another Pennsylvania band. So I mentioned earlier some of the bands from Pennsylvania that were just killing it at the time. So not a ton of them broke through other than Cinderella and Brittany Fox, but there's a lot of great hard rock in Pennsylvania at the time. So anyway, Dirty Looks, Turn of the Screw. Next up, a band a lot of you guys really like, Fifth Angel, Time Will Tell was the name of the album. It was their first one after moving from Shrapnel to Epic. Their debut charted, but this follow-up, Time Will Tell, did not. And the funny thing is, it was their last studio album for 29 years. Which is just blows my mind. Melodic metal, critically acclaimed, but really just did not have the album sales they were looking for back in the day. So next up, Savatage, Gutter Ballet. This was the follow-up to Hall of the Mountain King, and I heard somebody describe it as power metal on a Broadway scale, and I thought that was actually pretty good and pretty accurate. So Savatage's Gutter Ballet came out in 1987. It was their fifth album, and it went to number 124 on the chart, so did pretty well. I would have thought would have done even better, just with the reputation it had and how often the videos were on Headbangers Ball and stuff. But Savatage, Gutter Ballet, underrated in 1987. Next up, we have a Russian band, Gorky Park. If you're like me, you probably mostly heard of Gorky Park after the Moscow Peace Festival, which had just an epic concert with Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, Skid Row, Cinderella, the Scorpions, and like I said, Gorky Park. Just going by memory, so if I missed any bands there, I apologize. All right, so great album. I remember I left home at that time, and my parents would send me care packages, and one of the things they would do is record stuff off a cable that they thought I'd like. And this is one of the things they sent me was the Moscow Peace Festival, so it was really cool to get that in the mail and check that out. All right, so it went to number 80. It was on Mercury Polygram. Bang was the video I remember. And this album was co-produced by Bruce Fairbairn, John Bon Jovi, and Richie Sambora. So some heavy hitters behind Gorky Park. All right, next up we have another German band, except the name of the album's Eat the Heat. And like Loudness, they changed singers and got an American singer in their band. This time it was David Reese, who later went on to front Bangalore Choir. And if you go look at his discography, he's done like, I would not be surprised if it was 100 albums. So except Eat the Heat was the album. It went to 139 on the Billboard album charts, and really, really good record. I don't think the fans really accepted David as a front man on this one at the time, though. So, except Eat the Heat, underrated in 1989. Next up, we have a band from Scotland. They had really, really good success in the UK, and in fact, they still are having a lot of success in the UK. In 2024, they had a top 10 album there. Now, I missed this album, but I did discover them on their follow-up album, Gallus, in 92. But this one in 1989 was called Taking on the World. It's hard to describe. It's kind of commercial hard rock. The singer, really good, but did not really fit in with what was going on in metal and hard rock at the time. But like I said, a lot of success in the UK and really good band. He kind of had a lower register, kind of like the singer in The Cult, although I wouldn't really compare them musically. But check out Gun. You might like them. Taking on the World. Next one, a band that I know a lot of you guys love, Icon, Right Between the Eyes. It was on Atlantic Megaforce. It was their first major release with new singer Jerry Harrison. They had a independent release in between there. Has a bitchin' album cover. I really love the album cover to Icon, Between the Eyes. Also, Alice Cooper guest vocaled on a song, and Eddie Trunk, who worked at Megaforce, was given a co-producer credit on this one. So, in 1989, Icon, Right Between the Eyes, underrated. Next up, Nitro, OFR, their debut album. If you have Jim Gillette's Proud to Be Loud, some of the players on that too. Jim Gillette, former singer for Tough, and he did those metal voice lessons, vocal lessons that you see all the ads in all the metal magazines. He was a singer. Michelangelo Badio was the guitar player, an amazing shredder. And then Bobby Rock on drums. He's played with everybody. He's played with Lita Ford. He's played with Vinnie Vincent. He's played with, you name it, he's played with them. They looked and sounded completely over the top. And they were signed following their very first gig. Nitro OFR went to number 140 on the Billboard album charts. And if you know, you know. So next up, Kingdom Come, In Your Face. This band had a lot of success with their first album, being compared a lot to Led Zeppelin, which I think helped them initially and probably held them back a little later. But it did get them on the biggest tour of the year, that Monsters of Rock tour with Van Halen, Scorpions, Dokken, Metallica. So huge, huge profile. The second album I actually like better than the first record, but that's just me. I know a lot of people prefer the first one. The first one. The first single was Do You Like It? And I thought it was really, really good. Good video, good song. The album did, however, make the album charts and peaked at number 49, but did not have the success of the debut. So Kingdom Come, In Your Face, underrated in 1989. Next up, we have Barren Cross, State of Control. A Christian metal band on Enigma Records. Where have we heard that before? But they are definitely a metal band, traditional metal band. It was their second release on Enigma, and it was produced by former Kansas vocalist John Elefante. This one failed to chart, but was underrated according to some of you in 1989. Next up, we have an EP by the band The Four Horsemen. It was a self-titled EP. It was their debut, very bluesy, hard rock band. Their full album debut would come out 2 years later. It was a big delay. It was on Deaf American Records, headed by Rick Rubin. At the time, a very hot name and a very hot record company, but just didn't seem to help them out enough, as most people don't know the Four Horsemen, or at least they didn't break through, that's for sure. But their debut EP came out in 1989. All right, next up and last up. I've been kind of zipping through these pretty quickly. We've already gotten through over 20 records. Last one I have here is Leatherwolf, Street Ready. Heavy metal band or power metal band out of Huntington Beach, California. This album did make it to number 123 on the Billboard chart, so some success. They were on Island Records, and were most well known for their triple axe attack, sporting 3 guitar players. Street Ready, their 3rd album, and according to you guys, underrated in 1989. And that wraps up 1989. Took 3 episodes, 2 for me and 1 for you guys, to get through the underrated albums. And I'm sure there's even more, so put them in the comments, because I always love discovering and hearing new music. So, all right, that's it. Over 20 more albums, underrated. Make sure to check out my underrated albums. And if you don't mind or wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button or that like button if you haven't done already, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys just taking the time and listening here. So catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.